All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, February 26th. We got just 4 NBA games to dive into in today's video, like we always do. When we go through each and every one of these games, I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games. I'll give you any player props that I like as well. But as always, all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, if you do want to fade me, those plays are going to be in the pinned comments, so make sure to keep an eye on that. Last night, weird night. So we had 6 final plays, a mix of half unit plays, full unit plays. We ended up going 3 and 3, and because of the, I guess the breakdown of the units and the odds, we actually profit 0.01 units. So pretty much nothing of the night. You could say it's in the green, but you can't even buy a single tissue with that amount of profit. So nonetheless, it is a profitable night, but by 0.01 units. So if you were a $100 bettor, right, your unit is $100, you would have profited $1 yesterday. So nothing to brag about, but I guess it's not in the negative. We had Malik Beasley cash over 2.5 threes. That was the first half cash. Brook Lopez looked like he could have cashed it, but he kind of slowed down from the 3-point line there. So, you know, we split that game. Then we had the Suns -3.5 and Austin Reeves over 23.5 PRA. There are so many times in that game where Reeves looked good, but he doesn't pull through, right? I think he finished with 22, so he was right there, missed tons of shots. But the Suns -3.5, that cashes, so we split that game. And then we split the last 2 as well. So Mavs money line and then Jabari Smith Jr. over 8.5 rebounds. I'm kind of kicking myself. If you watch back the video, like I had that entire game script for Jabari Smith perfect. I wish I put 2 units on it. But nonetheless, guys, a 3 and 3 night. In terms of the ride of the day here, we had Matt come in with a play that I really like. Klay Thompson over 2.5 rebounds. And I saw people on Twitter being like, how could you bet on Klay? Blah, blah, blah. Klay Thompson was hitting this line, right? 7 of his last 10, 4 of his last 5. So I didn't mind the play coming from Matt here, but Klay finishes just shy with 2 rebounds there. He had a decent game, just not in the rebound category. So shout out to Matt for trying, but unfortunately the ride of the day does not come through. Guys, if you don't know what the ride of the day is, all you have to use is hashtag ride of the day right there. Hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me a nice banger of a pick. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss, and giving you a shout out over on Twitter if you want to follow me there at FGuyBoston. It'll flash up throughout the show. But if you win, we continue to ride with you and shout you out in the videos for your play each and every day. If you lose, we got to move on to someone else like we're doing today. So drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. All right, let's jump into game number 1. Now, I'll give you guys like a forewarning. This is not a like sexy NBA game, NBA slate at all, right? Like not the best of games here, just a few games, a handful of games even choose from. So this may be a light night in terms of final plays. Maybe it's a more of a player prop kind of edge night because I already have a few player props that I like more than the games themselves. So just keep an eye on the pinned comment, but you don't want to force anything. Even if you had a terrible night last night, don't go forcing anything in a bad small NBA game, slate, right? But let's jump into this one. We got the Pacers taking on the Raptors here. Pacers right now 6.5 point favorites. Total sitting at 245.5. I don't necessarily love either side here, but if I had to pick a side, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going to lean towards Toronto. 2 straight wins here for Toronto against Brooklyn and then against Atlanta. They're 7.5 point dogs against Atlanta. They win that game outright 123 to 121. And the reason I kind of immediately go to the Toronto side of the house here is just looking at what Indiana has done on back-to-backs this season. They were in a back-to-back game against Dallas last night. They played at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so I don't know if maybe they had an extra hour or 2 of rest. Doesn't really matter. I still consider it a back-to-back, and they've only covered in 20%. Yes, 1/5 of their games this year on back-to-backs they've covered in. And this is a decently high number, so I'm going to lean towards Toronto. I don't want to necessarily look at the Pacers and have to win by 7 points. Does that become a final play? Not really. It's not the most confident play in the world. In terms of the total, 245.5, I also don't mind taking a peek at the under. This is an Indiana team that, yes, they play very fast, but slow things down a little bit on back-to-backs, and they scored a lot yesterday, 133, right? Like, they might have gotten all their scoring out yesterday in a fast-paced game against Dallas. Now they're playing Toronto, who actually has been playing fast. Faster than they were, I guess you could say, 2 months ago. Now they're kind of like sitting at middle of the pack here, but I don't think the Pacers with tired legs kind of carry the pace here. So I think this drops a little bit lower. I would expect this game to finish maybe at most in the high 230. So I don't know if that becomes a final play either. And I know you guys hate when I tell you I don't know if it becomes a final play, but I'm just being completely honest. Two plays that I could consider here when it comes to final plays. And by the way, injuries, because we're about to talk about them. RJ Barrett probable, and then Aaron Nesmith doubtful for the Pacers there. But two player props that I really don't mind. Starting off with Gary Trent Jr. here, over 11.5 points. If this were to be a final play, it's probably going to be a half unit play because he is fairly inconsistent here, but his shooting numbers have been going up. He shot 12 and 14 times in his last two games, so the two games post-break, 25 points, 13 points. Now, he has had a terrible track record against the Pacers, but still, they allow, kind of lower tier in the league in terms of points to shooting guards per game, and they allow plenty of mid-range jumpers, which he's not like a mid-range assassin, but he's second over the last 10 games on the team in field goal attempts from the mid-range, and you know that he's probably going to give you, maybe one or two threes at least, right? He should give you 2 threes at least, making this 11.5 pretty damn attainable. Now, second pick here, we're going to be looking at RJ Barrett, and we're looking at his over 5.5 rebounds. Let's jump into Outlier, guys. If you want to check out Outlier, you can get 7 days free of this amazing tool, literally a one-stop shop for all your player props. You can use the link in the pinned comment, guys. Go check out Outlier. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. If you want to try it for 7 days and then finagle the system and say, I'll be out then, go ahead. The problem is you'll probably fall in love with it. And after that, it's only $19.99 a month, which is a damn manageable price. Like, that is a very manageable price compared to a lot of other tools out there. But anyways, we got a few things that we're looking at here. RJ Barrett, over 5.5 rebounds is what I'm looking at as of right now, but I'd also consider his over 9.5 rebounds plus assists. The dude is getting plenty of assists and rebounds as of late. He's hitting 8 of his last 10. And look, at last time that they played, this was just 2 weeks ago before the All-Star break. He had 9 boards, 3 assists here. And the reason why I favor the rebound stat is because if you look at the Pacers against small forwards on the year, right? Like I said, one-stop shop. We're looking at defense versus position. They're allowing the 6th most rebounds to opposing small forwards. They've actually been pretty tight in allowing assists. Now, that's not to say he can go out there and get plenty of assists, but look at what he did to cover this line last time. 9 rebounds, 3 assists, right? His assists line in his last 10 looks pretty good too, so that's why I really don't mind looking at the combination of the two. But maybe we split a half unit on the over 9.5 rebounds plus assists, and then a half unit on the over 5.5 rebounds. He's also over his last 10 games. I believe we still have it up here on NBA.com, averaging 11 rebound chances per game. If you guys don't know what the rebound chances are, it's pretty much like, did he have the ability to get the rebound? Maybe someone else got it. Maybe offensive or defensive opposition player got it. But what I like to do is divide this number in half, and that should be where the line is. 11 divided by 2, you're looking at 5.5 there. So I like that as at least as a floor. So those are going to be the 2 picks that I definitely envision being the front runners if there's any final plays in this spot. I guess it's 3 picks, right? RJ Barrett, 9.5 rebounds plus assists. Gary, and then his over in rebounds, and then Gary Trent Jr.'s over in points. But keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we end up rolling with, if anything, from this game. Make sure you guys check out Outlier as well. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. All right, next up, we have the Knicks taking on the Pistons. Before we get into this game, guys, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and that like button. We are so close to 60,000 subscribers. Help us out by hitting that subscribe button, and we'll get there sooner. Appreciate everyone that's hit the subscribe button as of late and liked the video. Yeah, me and Tassos always talk about it. It's crazy what we're doing here, and you guys are so damn supportive. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are new. Hit that like button if you are enjoying the show here. We got the Knicks taking on the Pistons. This is an interesting one because this Knicks team, they are injured, and you have a Detroit team that has been okay against the spread as of late. I mean, not as good as they were. They did just cover against Orlando. Came down to a Paolo Banchero game winner, right? So this is kind of a tricky one because the spread is so large. If this was like a maybe 6.5, 7.5, 8.5 even point spread, I think that I would consider looking at New York, but it's a little bit too much for me to lay with the Knicks here, who still are without Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and obviously Mitchell Robinson too, right? So I think it's a little bit too much for me to lay. I'm going to lean towards Detroit. I'm not trying to convince you to play Detroit, okay? In terms of a total, it is sitting at 223. Now, these two teams in their last 10 games here, the Knicks have gone under 7 of their last 10 games, and Detroit 6 of their last 10. I don't really see how either team needs, or why the Knicks, as big favorites, right, would need to push the tempo against Detroit here. They're ranked 30th in terms of pace over the last 10 games, so last in the league. Like, I think that where they contribute here is totally slow this game down, which also helps that spread pick too, right? Low scoring game with an 11-point spread, kind of correlated. Now, from a player prop perspective here, let's jump back into Outlier. I want to jump into the player prop that I like. I do like Simone Fontecchio. Now, we were big on him, his last game in Utah, we were pretty heavy on, playing him for threes and points, and he let us down, right? Actually, I think it was this OKC game, he had 2 points, right? But I like his over 12.5 points. You can see since joining Detroit, these 5 games here, so we can just look at his last 5. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5. This was a down game, okay. Field goal attempts were down. He shot 50% from the field, right? Only, most of those were threes. But other than that, he's had 19 shot attempts, 15, 12, 13. And you could say what you want about the revolving door of injuries and all that, but realistically, Isaiah Stewart out shouldn't impact him whatsoever for this game, and I just think the volume's going to be there. And you can see the Knicks, 2 small forwards allowing this ranked 22nd, so the 8th or 9th, I guess, most points allowed on the season to the small forward position. And I like him to also potentially make 3 threes. He's done it in 2 games so far with the Pistons. And the only reason I'm looking at this is 1, because I don't mind the volume, right? And 2, it is a plus 125 play. If this was minus 110, I wouldn't be considering it. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. I definitely could consider some Simone Fontecchio tonight, which he was so damn close to being on the no bet list, but he is on a new team. We haven't touched him as a Piston. We shall see. But keep an eye on the pinned comment for any plays from this game. All right, next up, we have Memphis taking on the Nets. Another not really appealing game here, for being completely honest. I'm going to lean towards Memphis, though, getting the 1.5 at home, mainly because I'm just kind of fading what the Nets are doing as of late. Like, their offense is, I don't even know if you'd consider it offense, right? Like 86 points, 93 points, 86 points. And it's not like you turn the page to Memphis and it's like, whoa, this offensive team, they exploding offense. No, but at least they try in games. They've been keeping games close, covered in 6 of their last 10 games here, covered in 4 straight games as well. Now, these are when they're getting bigger numbers, like 9.5 against New Orleans, 9 against the Clippers, 14 against the Bucks, right? Like, they're only getting a 1.5 here, but I don't think that those 3 teams we mentioned are on the same level, or I guess I should say the Brooklyn Nets are not on the same level as those 3 teams. So I do think that this could be a game that Memphis has the home court advantage and kind of wins this one outright. Brooklyn on the season, not to say the Nets are good at covering at home, okay? But Brooklyn on the season have only covered in 36% of their games. Not exactly what you want to see if you are rooting for the Nets here. And then from a matchup perspective, I do think that this is a Memphis team that should win the 3-point battle, as well as the free throw battle as well. So I do think that Memphis just has a good matchup in this spot. In terms of the total, 215, it's 215 and a half. It is super low, and I get that. I'll lean towards the under, but that may be too low to actually consider pulling the trigger on, because you could have a low scoring, 108 to 107 type of a game, and it's right there, right? You're telling me 110 to 107 puts this thing over, and it's that slow of a game. So yeah, I kind of got it pegged right around that number. I'm going to lean under, but I don't think I pull the trigger on it because of how low that number truly is. From a player prop perspective, I'm looking at Nick Claxton here, under 11.5 rebounds. He's hit that in 9 of his last 10 games here. In terms of head-to-head, he was held, this is obviously back in October 2022, so take it for what it's worth. Still ended up playing, I think, 33 minutes against this Memphis team, but a lot different, right? But held to 7 rebounds there. And if we flash over to the last 7 games here, this is a Memphis team allowing centers the 4th fewest rebounds to opposing centers in the entire league. So I like the spot for Nick Claxton. In terms of lines for the under, you have some value over on BetMGM. You can see most sportsbooks minus 128, minus 131, minus 135. Some value over on BetMGM. So make sure to go. Make sure you're getting the right prices out there, right? But yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much volume here, even from a rebound chances. 16 rebound chances. Like I told you guys, I like to divide that in half and say, okay, that should be the line. Right now, this thing is a little bit inflated over 11.5. So Nick Claxton under 11.5 rebounds is going to be a play there. I would say if I were to rank these, it's Memphis, Claxton, and then the total in terms of the order in which I like these plays. All right, guys, before we jump into the last game of the slate, and it's probably the best game on the board, I do want to talk to you about Chalkboard. I talked to you about Chalkboard in a few videos ago. This is a really cool app. I call it a new app. It's not new, but it may be new to you. Another DFS pick'em app out there, but they do tons of things that are very, very unique. And if you use the link in the pinned comment, you can sign up and get your first deposit matched. You can also just download it from the App Store and use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON. Spelling Bee Champ to get that deposit match. But they have a lot of cool things. They have unique multipliers for all the plays you put in. You can now do shielded plays, which are like flex plays, meaning you could put a 5-man slip in, and even if 3 or 4 of them cash and 2 or 1 of them don't, you can still make some money as well, which is a really, really unique thing. And also, they have so many discounts that they give out. So many. You guys have seen me doing it on TikTok, by the way. Make sure you follow me there. But they drop so many discounts with no limits and no maximums over there as well. If you're not on Chalkboard and it's legal in your state, make sure to go check it out. I believe it's for Apple devices as of right now. They're working on Android. But go check it out, guys. You'll be able to figure that out with the link in the pinned comment. And yeah, I've been loving Chalkboard as of late. But let's go ahead and jump into the last game of today's slate. Sacramento taking on Miami. I know I said this is probably, the best game on today's slate, and that's not a lie, but we do have some, not injury report, but things to note, right? We have Bryant and Butler. I think Jovic is also suspended from that brawl. We did a reaction on the channel when they played the Pelicans. So Jimmy Butler's a no-go. That's probably the biggest one there, obviously. Tyler Hero is questionable. We have Terry Rozier still out. Richardson still out. So tons of injuries to note, and just guys that aren't, injuries or suspensions on the Miami side of things, which is kind of a bummer because I do think that would make this a really good game because you have a slow-paced, grinded-out Miami team that's playing good basketball versus a kind of up-tempo Sacramento team that, honestly, is also starting to play decent basketball. Maybe I'm kind of putting too much weight into their win last night against the Clippers as 4-point dogs. They win that one outright, 123-107. But yeah, unfortunately, this game kind of gets the win take out of the sails. But I'm going to lean towards Sacramento minus the 7.5 points. No Jimmy Butler makes me a little concerned about this team because they were kind of totally playing with some momentum. They'd covered in 8 of their last 10, won 7 of their last 10, beating good teams, covering against good teams. Like they lost to the Celtics, they're 8-point dogs. They battled in that game. Maybe one of the best Celtics games of the season as a Celtics fan. They end up losing by 6 points or 4 points. They were 8-point dogs, right? So they were covering. That was the one loss that they actually covered in. But I do think that, without Jimmy Butler, like that's such a guy in your team that's your staple, kind of the momentum guy. I don't know where the momentum necessarily goes without him. I could be wrong. Like this is still a Miami team that's going to grind it out. And, if Tyler Hero's playing, Bam Adebayo's playing, like they still got guys, but I feel like Jimmy Butler was sort of the heartbeat of this run that they're on. And with him being out, it's kind of a blow to the momentum. So give me the Kings here. They are on a back-to-back, definitely worth noting. They've only covered in 37.5% of games when on a back-to-back this season. So definitely something that you could be scared of if you are looking at the Sacramento side of things. And honestly, it's the only reason this probably stays as a lean. Now, from a total perspective here, you have 225 and a half. I like the under. I think where Miami, regardless of Jimmy Butler, can kind of get involved and get its hand into the pot here is keeping this game low scoring. They've covered the under, so hit the under in 9 of their last 10 games. They hit an under in, I think, all but one game that was, I think their total was like 214, and that game was a low scoring game. So, and it only went over. Yeah, let's see, I have it up. So the only over they've hit in the last 10 games here, it was a 214 total against Orlando, in which it was a 121-95 finish. 216 is what they finished on to make that covers the under in all of the other lines that they had. So just that one game going over, I think that's where Miami kind of slows things down here. In terms of player props, honestly, because of all the injuries and whatnot, nothing really jumps off the page to me. I was gonna consider sort of Sabonis and Bam Adebayo almost going at each other, but to be honest, as I look into it, I don't necessarily know if that means that they're gonna both have good nights or they make it tough for each other. And that's just my brain being honest with you. You know what I mean? Like if them head to head here, does that result in them both having like a tough night, or do they really get up to the occasion? Last time they played back in January, Sabonis had 49 PRA. He had 19 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists. Now he's on a back-to-back. Is that something that can kind of hinder him a little bit? Potentially. So if anything, I'd probably roll with either both of their overs or don't touch it altogether, because I could see those guys kind of going head to head in what could be the best part of this game. But again, all that being leans right now just because this game, the win kind of gets taken out of the sales. But guys, it's going to wrap for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Consider becoming a channel member. We have some channel member exclusive videos like building a model and those type of things and more coming, by the way, in March with that as well. And if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 19 because you made it past the 19-minute mark. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys that do that because honestly, like, I can't even imagine sitting here listening to this annoying voice for 19 minutes talk about sports. You know what I mean? So you guys put me in an amazing situation, amazing place, and I'm so thankful for that. So go ahead and comment 19. Let me know that you made it this far into the video. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.